What's up, dudes and dudettes? Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. And we have another banger here today on Dude Sports Sessions, and you might recognize him. He's got a Final Four ring from the 2010 WVU class, coming out of New Jersey, playing for not only one, but two potentially Hall of Fame coaches. One for sure, I'm not sure if the other one is or not, for John Bielin, and our favorite Bobby Huggy Bear Huggins. And he's played for both, and you might recognize again, they knocked off the John Wall, Demarcus Cousins super team of John Calipari. Kentucky sucks. And ladies and gentlemen, Wellington Smith. What's up, man?
Oh, thank you. That was an
living?
awesome introduction. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for having
A
me.
little bit, but I brought it home. That's all that matters, man.
It worked out well.
So how you doing, man? What have you been up to? Let everybody know, like, what the hell happened to Wells?
Yeah, I'm doing well, and I appreciate you bringing me on. So shoot, I have a family now. I got two little girls, 5 and 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh, you're done.
This is it. Once I heard once 11 or 12 hits, it's all downhill from there. From like 11 to 12, and then I think 22, where I'll be fine. Like there's gonna be just a gap of just shittiness. But but yeah, they're doing well. I have a wife. She's awesome. Live up here in New Summit, New Jersey. Been, after school, after I graduated from West Virginia, played professionally for a little bit in Japan for about a year.
We'll get to that after that, but we're going to go back to what that's like. I know that's one thing people want to know.
No doubt. Fractured my foot twice, and then I said, hey, let me go back and actually, start a career. So yeah, I jumped around a little bit, did a couple of different things, from selling insurance, jumping into sports tech, and then, creating my own business, to now. I still have my own business, but now my 9 to 5 is in cybersecurity, and there's a little bunch of crazy people out there that are trying to steal some information. So here we are.
Here we are, because I ain't got nothing that they want. So good, man.
Yeah. So it's I'm enjoying myself and loving life. I'm in a really good opportunity, a really good spot right now.
Well, glad to hear it, man. So here's a question for you: what was a bigger culture shock, New Jersey to Morgantown, or from Morgantown to Japan?
I would say Morgantown, Japan, no question. The New Jersey has some rural parts to it that remind you of Morgantown, but yeah, Morgantown to Japan, no question about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your senior year in New Jersey. A lot of players that end up playing at WU have a very interesting story of how they get there, because WU's never been, no disrespect to West Virginia, it's never been the top of the list. When you have your blue collar chips, W very rarely makes the top 5. So was it always like WU? Did WU come in last? Who was your top 3? Walk us back to the recruiting process and how you even ended up in Morgantown.
Yeah, so I actually heard from West Virginia my sophomore year in high school. Got my first letter was from West Virginia, which is pretty cool. So some sort of loyalty there, but long story short, I was getting recruited by Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, UVA, Rutgers, Seton Hall, South Florida, and received offers from all of them. And then West Virginia, of course. One of the deciding factors for me was one, Coach Bielin at the time, right? I would never have thought he would have left after the first year, but it is what it is. It's a business, right? One of the things I've learned over my time in West Virginia. The other two things were the school, right, and the guys on the team, and also realizing that hey, these guys just went from they were at an Elite 8 and then a Sweet 16. Like the trajectory was just going through the roof. So it all worked out.
Yeah.
And
so who were the dudes on that team when they were recruiting your senior year? Who was the dudes at WU? Was that the Joe Alexander era?
Yeah, so when they were recruiting me, it was Mike Gansey, Kevin Pisnagel, Pat Beeline, Joe Hairbear, Tyrone Sally, Frank Young, all those guys. That was, as I was doing my visit, that's who I was doing my visit with, right? And they were hosting me. I tried to dunk on Kevin Piston, but it didn't work out so well. He
Don't come at Martinsburg like that, man. What's wrong with you, man? He should have saw that tattoo of the flaming basketball in his arm, being like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good."
Right. He caught me in the air. He was like, "Nah, this is not going to happen today." I'm like, "All right, well, at least you know I can try." Right?
Yeah, at least you know I can get up that high, right?
Yeah, but yeah, it was it was an awesome visit. Went to a football game, and then went out. It was fun. Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Now, W definitely has that at the time, and you really went there during a golden era because you had the Pat White, Steve Slayton. You know, your basketball team was just killing it. You know, the girls program, which you're very familiar with, is was really starting to come into its own in that era. I mean, what a time! What was the vibe like there? Where just like winning was just expected in every single sport.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something that you had to uphold. You know, knowing that you were trying to you're based at least how I saw it, you were trying to compete with the other teams that are that were playing, right? Basketball wanted to compete with football. Football wanted to compete with basketball. You know, the women's basketball wanted to compete with men's basketball or soccer, right? So like, yeah, it was a pretty golden time because every single sport was competing at the highest level. Soccer, I think, won or was able to go to a couple of Sweet 16 Elite Eights themselves, maybe a couple of Final Fours. You know, so yeah, everybody was competing at a very, very high level, which is what you want from a school, right? And I think that's probably what built the practice facility. That's what built a lot of the practice facilities and different.
A lot of facilities built after that era. There was a lot of it. But hey, don't worry about where your meals come from. You get it right.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's a topic for another day, man. Remember, we were joking about like this one Scottie Pippen there. We might go real Scottie Pippen.
Oh, we'll go real Scottie on shoot. Give me a couple more years. Might hit a midlife crisis real quick.
How do you come after MJ? I still don't.
I don't know.
You might have been underpaid, but man, you got paid because of the guy. But anyways. So you're at WU. You're with Beeline. He decides I'm going to Michigan, and next thing you know, there's a plane with two guys flying out to Manhattan, Kansas. And then there's three guys flying back to Manhattan, Kansas, and a couple weeks later, you go from the Jolly Green Gentle Giant to just the Jolly Green Giant. And what were you thinking when you found out he was going to be your coach up there? What have you heard from other players? Was there nerve? Because I mean, his reputation was, "I'm going to grind you, like, and we're gonna work."
Yep.
And was it? I mean, I'm sure Coach Beeline, also was, very pro working, but on a much different level. So, what was the vibe from the current guys on the roster when he got that job?
Well, Johnny West, it seemed like he was in the know of what was going on, right? Maybe his dad was saying something to him. Maybe just, I don't know what was going on, but he was in the know and was like, "Hey, like Bob Huggins is probably going to be our coach." But to take a step back, when Coach Beeline left, we were like, "Shit, what do we do now?" Like, there's 8 freshmen that he brought in, and realistically, we created a pack, between myself, Johnny, Joe, Cam. Deshaun, just a couple of different guys, and said, "Hey, we're not leaving," and it worked out really well for all of us, right? Able to, ultimately get to a Final Four, and but when we first realized that Coach Huggins was coming out, I was a little nervous. I was like, "Shit, am I gonna really stick around?" As I was watching some of his old games when I was in high school. He was coaching Cincinnati, and I was like, I'll never be able to play for a guy like that. It's just because of the way that he is and holds himself. And here I am, playing for that guy, and it's really a blessing in disguise, right? Some of the toughest things that I've been through were those 3 years under Hugs, right? From mental toughness, right? Adversity, understanding it's not just about what you want out of your entire career, but it's about what we're doing on this practice, this particular play, this particular game. It really holds, he really holds you accountable. And Coach Beeline did as well. It's just, who knows if I was able to get that experience like anywhere else,
Right. So at what point, they call him the Huggy Bear. And that's because at the end of the day, like behind his layers of tough exterior knight metal and armor, you know, he is a bear and he does have a soft spot. How many years were you there before you realized, like, you know what, like at the end of the day, this guy loves us like his own kids, and he's only being hard on us because he wants the best out of us, and he knows that this is our opportunity to make something with our lives after school?
Yeah, I think it only took that first year for me to realize that. But then, after, once you're in it, it's tough, right? Like, I remember he always had a guy that he would just get, he would just grind out. First year was Jamie Smalley, right? And Jamie had it tough, right? He was a shooting big man, and Hugs is used to Kenyon Martin, right? Like, so like, Jamie just, is a different player, right? So his first year, Jamie was his guy. But when he was, cursing at him and yelling at him and trying to get him to play at what he thought was his potential, at the end of the day, he would give him a hug, right? Wrap his arm around him, which is what you want, right? You want that loving caringness, from your coach, knowing that I want you to reach another level, but I also care about what happens to you in life. But then my junior and senior year, I was that guy, right? So like, there were times, where we're going back and forth, it takes me a while to like really to get pissed off, but he would get me to that point where I think he wanted to get me to that point, and then would push me out onto the floor mad, and then me hopefully playing well. But I remember
classic move, coach. Classic.
Yeah. But I remember distinctively that there was a game at we were playing in Madison Square Garden, and I was injured my entire junior year. Even my senior year, I had a stress fracture in my shin. I didn't tell anybody besides our trainer. And it was at the end of the year, and we were playing Syracuse and in the Big East tournament, and this one of the Syracuse players was killing me. Like, I couldn't do much about it. Coach didn't want to bring anybody else in. I would have been fine if he would have brought somebody else in. He didn't do it. He kept me out there and was just cursing at me while I was on the floor, cursing at me. Halftime comes, cursing. I think we end up losing the game maybe. And after the game, still on me. I'm like, fuck, I just can't win. So then he realizes, all right, let me just take it easy. Let me stop, because there's nothing else that we can do now. And he comes over and gives me a hug, and that's when I was like, all right, like finally, like everything, like this shit's finally over. But yeah, like, as I mentioned before, those are the toughest years of me personally and mentally of my life, and knowing that I could do much of anything, because of those years.
So what do you tell a younger player that's dealing with these here? Like, I know the easy answer is it'll get better. Like, what was probably got you through those like really rough days where like, God, coach don't love me, coach don't even care, like coach is trying to get me out of here? Like, what are we telling these kids? Like, you work with that at Unity, with your current program, Unity.
Yeah. So, with my guys, I try to instill some level of adversity with them. So, whether it's running hills, running the track, or just, going balls to ball in practice, I try to let them know, like, guys, I only have you 2-3 times a week. I'm, for an hour and a half each time. I'm doing this. I'm doing your hour and a half plus, 2 other hours. And then I'm going to practice, or I'm going to study hall, and then I'm going to, weightlifting, and then I might go hit up another class, right? Like, and that's every single day, from the time that the time we start, in August to the time I leave in May, and then we're still doing it in the summer. Like, so that is college basketball. It is a legit job. And if you guys can't handle this, and if that is too much for you, then that's fine. We could find something else for you to do, but you have to realize what you're walking into. And when coach is putting you in that position where he's trying to figure out what kind of man you are, you have 2 things to do. You can either, hide from it, or you can show, hey, like, I'm not just going to, one, let you speak to me like this, but also I'm not going to let you just think that, like, I'm just here just to be here, right? I want you to know I'm here so I can play and I could be a successful member of the team. So it took me a while to try to figure out, even shit, it probably took me till after college to figure out, like, damn, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have got some extra shots up before practice, knowing that I won't get that time during the 3 hours of my day to get some shots up. Like, I wish you would have saw me shoot more before practice or after. But like, there's just some different things I'm trying to teach my guys now and my girls now, to put them in a position where they're more successful than I was when I was in school.
And you kind of said something else there and all that there, which I agree. That's awesome, solid advice. And it's so hard to convey that message in an understandable way that's reasonable for younger people to get. But you were saying, like, it's a full-time job. I know we weren't going to go full Scottie Pippen on the end, but I think a lot of people that it's easy for them to say, like, well, they're getting a free education. Isn't that enough? It's like you don't have time to go get a job at Starbucks, for 20 hours a week at, $10 an hour to make some extra, gas money, or, extra shoes, clothes, whatever necessities, toothpaste, all the stuff, that you need. And it's just really crazy because everyone's like getting all these, like, no, most meal plans are 12 to 15 meals a week because they don't count for weekends. So there's like times where even, so was that a challenge for some of the guys on your team, with, I mean, I'm sure, you had some, it's a melting pot. You had some come from some, you had some come from a lot, and you had some come from modest means.
Yeah.
The ones that you saw that came in, and no names, please, that came in that really struggled, did they really have, like, what was life like for them as a full-time college athlete at W that didn't come with much?
It was tough, right? But I would say that everybody took care of one another, right? So, my upbringing was, I come from a really nice town here in Summit, New Jersey. Parents both had to have two family home, and a two-parent home, I should say. And both my parents, my mom had her own entrepreneurial business going on with her daycares. My dad worked for AT&T. And actually Microsoft at the time. So, like, and then shoot, my parents even bought a house in Morgantown, for when they were able to come in for home games. So, like, if there was anything that people needed, it was, all right, hit up Joe, hit up Deshaun, hit up Wells. We'll figure it out, right? There was never a time where guys would never go hungry. We would always try to figure out, how to put food in their belly, or shit. I mean, we got as many clothes as we want, right, from the gear, but
right.
It was a different time then, right? The athletes now are more taken care of, because of NLI, because of Kimball Walker and what he was saying, right? About, like, I don't have enough money to eat, right? Like, I mean, it's just different. Guys now, when I go back to go back to Morgantown, I go back often because my father-in-law's Mike Carey and head coach for the women's team. And we go back often to watch women's play.
Champions 2021, 2022. They champions. They're cutting down nets.
Yes, sir. That's the hope. But when we go back, I'm watching these girls and these guys. They're getting breakfast, at the practice facility. Omelets, a whole bunch of stuff. They're getting lunch. They can come back and get dinner if they need to. Like, they're being taken care of, and then they can go out and make their own money. So,
is that? I mean, I'm assuming no jealousy on your part. If anything, it's a sign of progress and a sign of, like, good things coming that have happened, and that we are taking these student athletes more seriously.
Yeah. I would say that there's no jealousy. The only thing I'm jealous about is the practice facility. I just wish we would have had that, right? Like,
I've seen your old one and I've seen the new one.
Oh, it was. I mean, well, the thing is, we had to break into the Coliseum in order for us to get shots up, right? So, like, Joe Alexander, his breakout year, that summer, he was living in the Coliseum, like, legit living in the Coliseum. Like, no, I
didn't know this story. He was he was just sleeping out there, sleeping on couches, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he was sleeping on the couch in the locker room. And then what?
Did you ever see a guy blow up like that?
No, Nothing like that. Nothing like that.
The dunk he rose up on the guy in the Big East, craziest dunk you ever saw in life. 1-on-1 down. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, you're going to challenge me?" Like, okay, here we go.
I knew that was coming too. He does that all the time in practice, right? Like, was that one? He had one against Xavier where I thought he was going to put his armpits in the rim. Right? It was just, I mean, he was a freak. He was a freak and still is, right? Like, he's still playing.
Is he still playing? Where's he at nowadays? Do you know?
I think he's in Israel, I want to say.
I was going to wonder what happened to him after the Bucks, but yeah, he kind of.
Yeah. He went out. I think he went from the Bucks to Chicago, and then Chicago to overseas. I want to say.
Yeah. Good money over there if you get.
Yeah, I mean, he was still making money from his NBA contract.
Yeah, that was in the pre-CBA, I think. So I
think
he did that all right. I think he did all right.
He's doing just fine.
So let's talk about the year, your senior year. You know, that's the year that, you know, there was some crazy stuff happening in the state of West Virginia. You had the big coal accident down in Boone County that y'all went down there. It kind of set the tone for the year, like, hey. And actually, yeah, let's funnel that into the question. You guys make it to the Final Four. You had one of the worst coal mining accidents, and Coach Huggins took that as a lesson upon himself to teach all you guys what really makes West Virginia, West Virginia. Mm-hmm. Did that kind of like set the tone for the year of like, we're playing for a lot, and we got a lot of seniors. This is our last go around. We got some tragedy. We're trying to make people happy. We're trying to make ourselves happy. Mm-hmm. Is it the perfect storm for the perfect year?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a perfect way to say it. Because you're right. There were just so many things going on, right? I mean, you kind of forget about the tragedy. Unfortunately, but you're right. I mean, that was a perfect storm to everything that was what happened, right? So yeah, I mean, when we were going into, I think the last game that we lost was UConn. I think like in February, or maybe January or February, and then we lost, you know, unfortunately at Duke, you know, in the Final Four. But you know, just when he had that speech, he wasn't pissed off. Like, that game was like any other game we've ever. His post-game speech was like any other post-game speech he's ever had, just because he wasn't pissed off, right? He understood. We played our butts off, and we just came up short.
We lost Deshaun there.
Yeah, like there was only so much we could do, right? So so when he gave that speech saying that, hey, you're playing for more than just yourselves, you're playing for this whole state of West Virginia, you kind of put some things in perspective. Every single time we came out, you know, we knew that we were playing for more than just ourselves and playing for, you know, our team and our coach. We're playing for, you know, our community, and knowing that, you know, West Virginia's pride is its coal and its sports, right? It's pretty humbling. You know, so understanding that, yeah, it was definitely a perfect storm going into the Final Four and having that run that we did.
So going into that year, and by the way, I had moved to Boone County, first job out of college.
Oh, really?
Second full week of February of that year, and I think it was in April, start of April, late March, when that accident happened.
Goodness.
From like up here Northeast Ohio, and it was like just like you guys, I was down there. Like everybody was like, "Hey," was everybody like everyone's like, "We don't know. We have to wait." Like it was the most eye-opening experience ever. So I can imagine what you guys had, and I come from an area that's farming, coal country, like up here, like in a different way, and it was still a whole different life. It was such an eye-opening experience. So I'm sure it kind of puts some things in perspective. And you always had some West Virginia guys on the roster that really spoke to that. But at what point during that year, when you guys were like, "Oh man, we can do this. Like this could be a really crazy year"?
Yeah, you know what? I can't pinpoint what game it was. When I figured out, like, yeah, we got a shot at the Final Four. Like I would say when we won the Big East championship, that was when I was like, oh shit, like we could actually do this. But you know, there was fire, man. Dude, and that was, and maybe even the game before that, or the when we played Villanova and we were down, it was our last regular season game at Nova, and we were down 20 going into the second half. Down 20 going into the second half in a college basketball game. That's like unheard of, right? And very hard very rare. No one could score, right? Nova was on fire. We were playing okay. He couldn't score the basketball. Like we weren't shooting, we weren't making threes, we weren't making twos. Offense just wasn't there. We go out and win the game in overtime, but knowing what we went through to get to that point, like we were like, all right, like we can make some noise in the Big East tournament, and then we can make some noise in the NCAA tournament, especially after that Big East win.
Yeah, when you start knocking off good teams on off nights, that's when things start. It's like, all right, a little more optimism on this end of it. Things over here.
Yeah.
So you're against Kentucky, Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that game?
Yeah, so going into that game, we actually, one of our assistant coaches, Larry Harrison, he puts up Demarcus Cousins in our film session. Like it's his mug, Demarcus Cousins' mug on the screen.
And it's not a cute mug. It's
not a cute mug. It's like a very
it's like a dartboard.
Yeah, right. So of course, my task every single game was to guard the big man on the opposing team. I'm like, fuck, I'm walking into this film session. This guy's 6'10",
3-pick guaranteed,
right? And I'm sitting here talking to you. But yeah, I'm like, this is out of control. Like, coach, we gotta figure something out. But long story short, we went through a scouting report. They're all freshmen.
Right.
They're all freshmen.
All of them.
Yeah, I mean, besides Patrick Patterson, who was I think is a junior at the time.
He was a junior. I did look. Yeah. Did a little bit of research. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, but everybody else is freshman basketball players. And if thinking back on it, what were you like when we were freshman basketball? But one, we were overconfident. But two, we've never been through the shit, right? We've never been through the struggle before.
Right.
And we were in the shit. Like that game, that first half, we didn't make a 2-point shot. Right. That first half, we did not make a 2-point field goal. We made all threes, didn't get to the line. Right. It was legit all threes, and we go up. They were like up 2 or 3 to go into the second half. And then, thank goodness, coach put Joe Mazzulla on them at in the 1-3-1. And, little Joe was battling against one of the biggest guys in college basketball at the time.
Most interesting character in college basketball ever?
Joe Mazzulla or Demarcus Cousins?
Joe.
Yeah, Joe was definitely up there.
There's like a folk legend about Joe, man, but no, all in good love, all in good love.
Oh no, he
threw on a defensive clinic. Is that the season he's playing baseball with one arm?
That is the season.
Okay, because he messed up the shoulder, and the coach goes, well, you couldn't really shoot anyway, so.
And he comes out and makes a couple of threes in the first half, right? So
he did. Yeah. Oh man, what a time to be alive. So was that the biggest post-game celebration of any game you ever played in?
I would say that. You know what, man? The biggest championship was legit. Hugs was out in New York. All of us were out in New York, right? Like after the game, we were at bars. Hugs was at bars. Like it was, and that's how it should be, right? I mean, that's how.
When you reach the Mount Everest, man, and everybody's of legal age, have
at it, right? Then, but we weren't drinking together. He was at a separate bar. We didn't want to come in contact with our coach.
Right.
But if I could take some things back that were said after that Kentucky win, I would take back that one thing, and it was, I feel like we won the national championship. All right. I said that to, I don't know who it was, but you got to understand, like the emotions that were going into that game.
Yeah.
These guys were supposed to win the entire thing.
Oh, heavy favorites.
Yeah.
Like top seed, number one.
Yeah.
Gave them a favorable bracket, everything. They wanted them to make it.
everything. And so yeah, like it felt like we won the national championship. And then that's just bulletin board, you know, ammo for Duke.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, give Coach K anything.
Yeah. This fucking guy, Wellington Smith, who's a nobody, said that.
He averaged 6.3 points a game. He said, "Yeah, you gonna let this guy dog you? You gonna let him dog you?"
Talking about you guys already won. Yeah, man. Yeah, well, that's how it felt. You know, when he came out, when Duke came out, like just focused. But and I think they shot like 60% from the field. That first half.
It's really nice of you to take the entire rap for why you guys lost to Duke. Like,
I'll take it.
That's a gentleman and a scholar. So breaking news: Wellington is the reason Duke.
Well, every single time I tell the story, I blame it on Deshaun that he tore his ACL before we were about to make a run. But
he was going around your fractured shin that you were babying. That's right.
Fractured shin, torn ACL. We got a guy was shooting with one arm. Like it was a shit show.
That is a Little Rascals group if I've ever heard of it, man. Like that is the most Huggins team ever. And they were like, hey, like it's like a bunch of pirates. Like we're still going to win. Like, we got one leg. That's all we need to kill you, man. Like let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, to put in perspective, I never put it that way. But like, yeah, I mean, everybody had their injuries, right? And but everybody out away because Hugs teams do that. Ways for you to somehow be successful in the end and try to at least be in a position to win the game.
Yeah, well, it was quite a good time there for sure. Let's talk lastly here about the team that's coming up. What are your thoughts on the W team this year? I mean, every year's with his defensive press Virginia, the heavy intensive defensive, it's going to keep them in a lot of games that they might not be on paper talent wise. Toe to toe with up the par, as they would say. So what's your take on this Huggins team this year? What do you think?
I love Taz. I really like the fact that he came back. Being so young, this actually favors him. I think he was 21 or 22 last year. This favors like this rule where you can have a 6 year or whatever, or 5th year, whatever it is. Like it favors him because his age is appropriate for this. Guys that are 24, 25 that are using this particular rule for their advantage, I just say, it's time and you got to get out of here. But it's perfect for him, and it seemed like after that first game, he's seizing the moment. And I hope these guys understand how to seize the moment of what this particular season can bring them, where they're not looking at the end of the year and saying, okay, like if I want this by the end of the year. No, break down each game and tell yourself what can I do to make our team successful, and it will be successful. I feel like I wish Oscar was still around, but once he left, it was one of those things where all right, other guys got to step up. Also, Boyle stepped up, right? Other guys are stepping up. We got some guys. I forgot the kid's name. Let's say but he's like 6'10", could really Isaiah Cottrell, I want to say. 6'10" cat, could shoot the three, could rebound, run the floor really well. I like his game too. So
them stretch fives are money, man. If you're that's where it's at right now.
It really makes a difference when you got a guy that can bring the other bigs out and shoot it. McNeil, I want him to just relax more. I feel like he's putting a lot of pressure into his next year's decision, right? Which as a college kid is very easy to do. And you can really think about, all right, well, I need to make it to the NBA. Well, shit. All right, well, you're not going to make it into the NBA by shooting, 10% from the three, right? So
hey, there's not only one Ben Simmons out there in the
world. Right. So, just take everything. Take your time and enjoy the moment, right? And you're only going to have 1 year like this, so try to enjoy it, because there's going to be a lot of stories, a lot of fun stories that come from this year. So I hope these guys just enjoy the process, enjoy the run. I do like this team. I think they're they're going to surprise a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm a high school senior. Now close your eyes and imagine me as a Greek god, 6'8", 42-inch vertical, left, right-handed, cram, slam, thank you, ma'am. And I'm coming down to Pitt or WVU. Why am I going to WVU?
Well, I think we hit on a couple of things, right? West Virginia sports, basketball in particular, is the pride of West Virginia. You walk into any town in West Virginia, somebody's going to know who you are. Yep. Without a doubt, right? You can't say that about New Jersey. You can't say that about Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania. They might think you play a sport, but they might confuse that shit with, the Steelers, Carnegie Mellon, Duquesne, right? You're the man or the woman in it. When you go to a school like West Virginia, the facilities are top notch. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nice adjustment there. I see what you did.
Yeah, you're right. I got
wife's peeking around the corner. You're about to get onto that. How dare you?
Right. I got two little girls. I got trying to create a protege over here. My wife's probably freaking out. But yeah, you have the top notch facilities. You have a Hall of Fame coach who can teach you a ton. You have also a great school too. I mean, keep in mind, it's like an A+ school. And Pitt is as well, but you're really getting your money's worth when you go to a school like West Virginia, just because the community, the sports, the school, and also the pride it is, to be able to wear the
Ben Willie's.
Yeah, you got Ben Willie's. You got
Hey, we had to drop it in there once.
Dude, that's the only club I know that has survived over the past 2 years. Right?
There's like 6 clubs in one. Is going to be country, tiki, pop tamale. No, I'm joking. Joking, totally joking. But, you can sit there. You can do whatever kind of bar. You go down and get pizza in between. That place was built for success.
It really was. Every other club was like closing down over a year or after a year.
Is there? I mean, you've been to a bunch of campuses. Is there anything like college football Saturday night after a win in Morgantown?
Not at all.
No.
At all. No.
Couches where greatness is learned and couches are burned.
Who really indulged in their college career was John Flowers. Like, if there was one person that just lived it up to the fullest during his college years, it was John Flowers. And I remember opening up the newspaper and seeing John celebrate when Osama bin Laden was killed, and couches were burned, all the other kids were out in the middle of the street, and all of a sudden you see this 6'9" black kid with tattoos celebrating with the entire community of he was a favorite, man. If there's one person that really lived it up, it was him. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I'm sure you lived it up. You did good. You scored the love of your life, who's the mother of your 2 beautiful children. You sound like you got a lot of good stuff going on here. Wells, we thank you so much for coming by here on Dude Sports Sessions. I had a good time. I hope you did too. I always will down to talk WVU basketball any point in time. We appreciate you coming by again. The stories were cool. Congrats on the Final Four and all your success, man. You're the best, ladies and gentlemen, dudes and dudettes. Wellington Smith. Thank you, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right.